You should now.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the August Club Learning webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about growing Rotary through new club types. I believe we're expecting around 70 people tonight, so we'll just wait for a few attendees to funnel in. My name's Cory, if you don't know me yet. I'm the chair of the District New Club Committee, and I'm joined by my vice chair, Christine Rendell, our past district governor. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
So today, I guess while we're waiting for our attendees to funnel in, I'll just go over kind of what we had planned to discuss today. So we'll introduce our committee. It is a new committee, so we'll talk a little bit about what its mission and vision is, who's on it, and that we're recruiting and who we're looking for. And then we're going to take a run through all of the different club types that are available to us across pretty much the whole age range from 5 years old to however old our oldest Rotarian is. There's really a fit for everyone. And we'll talk a little bit about what our club, our new club committee can do to assist your club in investigating and determining which of these new club types might be a good fit for you. Expect that'll take around a half an hour, after which we'll turn to questions from the floor. Christine is going to be moderating our questions today, so unless it's urgent, I think you can throw it in the chat box, and we'll save it till the end. Just that we're a lot of the information kind of layers on previous information, so you'll find that it starts to make more sense as we go along. So just looking at the time, I think I'll leave it for another 2 minutes before we get started. So if you need to get a drink or just take a break from staring at your screen, now would be a good time to do it, and we'll get going right at 7:05. All right, about 30 seconds to go. Apparently my clock is off. All right, here we go. So as I mentioned in the intro, the new clubs committee is pretty new. We chartered or started under past district governor Christine's year. And our goal was really to make sure that everyone in our district had access to the Rotary family club type that made sense for them, no matter where they were. So our vision, as we said it, is a district in which all its residents have access to the Rotary family club type of their choice, through which to serve their community, build valuable skills, and connect with like-minded individuals. And our mission, or the way we're helping to accomplish that vision, is by providing both the sponsoring and chartering clubs with the tools, connections, non-financial resources that they need to successfully create and sustain new clubs within their district. Something that I think is really important, one of the reasons why we're so passionate about making sure that everyone has access to the club type of their choice is kind of thinking of it as a continuum or a chain of service, so to speak. So if we do our jobs well and make sure that there's access for everyone to an early act club, and they know about the power of Rotary, and they have an interact club to go to once they move on from elementary school, and continue to serve, etc., then we increase our chances. Well, I guess there needs to be a club of each type for people to go to, no matter where they are. As our lives change, we don't always live in the same area of the city. We don't even live in the same city in the district. But we want to make sure that wherever people go, they have access to the club that is a good fit for them. The second layer on top of that, I guess, is that we, as Rotarians and interactors and Rotaractors, and soon we'll be able to say interactors or early actors, we put a lot of effort into events that happen once, and we don't necessarily do as good a job as we could engaging the people that we've invested in. So these are our youth exchange students, RILA, Ripen, Adventures in Citizenship. There's a whole host of programs that funnel into a Rotary club. A Rotary family club. So the more access to clubs that we have throughout our district, whether that's online or in person, community-based, school-based, the better we are able to keep the people that we invest in coming into the fold, so to speak. So currently our team is small but growing. We've added Christine Rendell joined us as our vice chair today, and she's really passionate about early act. Something that we've done this year is each chosen a specialty. So as the year progresses, each of the team members will be focusing on becoming an expert in chartering clubs of a specific type. So Christine is our early act specialist. Next up, we have Camille Kanji, who is now a Rotaractor, or will soon be a Rotaractor, and his passion is really interact. You probably know him from his time with Western Interact Club. He's a rock star. Leading the charge for Rotaract, we have Ikmat Ayola. She's based in Medicine Hat, where she was also an interactor, but she'll be going to, I believe, the University of Calgary in the fall, and so we'll be joining the Rotaract Club there. And then I've chosen to specialize in the Rotary clubs, so your traditional clubs, and then the additional subclubs or subtype clubs that we'll talk about a little bit later. We are expanding our team recently. We've added, I don't have the list of names in front of me, but we have some new people joining our team in the Lethbridge and Medicine Hat region. But I'll say that we're hiring. We're looking for people who are passionate about starting new clubs and investing in people to help them make the Rotary family club of their type work for them, especially in the Red Deer area. So if you're tuning in from Red Deer and you'd like to get involved, we'd really love to hear from you. One of the things that the DG stream asked me to touch on is how our mission and how our plan for the year interacts with the strategic plan. And I think that something that jumped out on the first page is that this really aligns with the core value of diversity. It's in our own terms of reference that we can't really stop chartering new clubs until our district's clubs look like the people in our districts, not just physically, appearance-wise, but that we've got equal representation of the communities that we're serving, and that could be any demographic. So that's really a big part of kind of broadening it, making sure that anyone wherever you live in our district, you still have access to our Rotary family. It also touches lightly on some of the key priorities of the strategic plan. Creating vibrant clubs from the onset, I guess, is one of the key priorities. Not turning existing clubs into vibrant clubs or ensuring that they remain vibrant clubs, but also we're focusing on making sure that they're vibrant from the get-go. As you'll note as you follow along. A strong relationship with a sponsor club is a really key aspect to chartering any new club. So that touches on the collaboration between Rotary clubs. And you'll see that there's also some opportunities to collaborate with other non-Rotary groups that tie in with this. So our mission from the strategic plan is that to identify opportunities to start early act, interact, Rotaract, and Rotary clubs in the district. So part of our work to do that is to host a webinar like this, telling you about the different club types that we can charter, and that we're here to help you do that. But also to look into the distribution or the data of distribution of clubs in our district and identify that where certain programs might be lacking in an area, or that there might be a desert, so to speak. So we're going to pass over all of the different club types and kind of talk a little bit about the basic differences between them, who they are for, target demographic, what makes them unique, and if applicable, giving an example of a functioning club in our district that that is of this new club type. And don't worry, we're going to go over a lot of information in a fairly short amount of time, but you'll get a copy of these slides. Rick will send them out after the seminar. So I'm going to pass the floor over to Christine, and she's going to share a little bit more about Early Act.
Thank you, Cory. It's great to be here tonight. Early Act, yes. This is an exciting new club for the family of Rotary. And what's interesting is that we only have, I think, one or at the most two Early Act clubs in our district. One that we know of for sure. And as you can see by the screen, where did I see it? I don't see it. I only see your face, Cory. I don't see the slide. Did I miss something?
Sorry, in the top right, you should be able to.
I just found it. Yeah, sorry, I found it. It's just my fumbling here. So Early Act is school-based, elementary school-based, and what a great way to start out in the family of Rotary, then in forming an Early Act club. And ages 5 to 13 can join this. Typically, what we've seen here, and the other Early Act clubs around our zone, is that they typically are grades 4, 5, and 6. So not quite the 5-year-old age, but why not? I think why not? You can always start doing good things for your community. So it does lay the foundations of the elements of service and increasing awareness for the communities, for their schools and the world. And we have one really good example in our district that was formed a couple of years ago by the Rotary Club of Calgary Heritage Park, chartered an Early Act school at Woodbine Elementary School, and it has been very successful. Karen Hart is the teacher advisor at the school, and she was the one that really wished to get this going, and so the Heritage Park Club sponsored it, and they now have had very successful fundraising. They've raised $5,000 for the Children's Make-A-Wish organization. I mean, in an amount of time that would put some Rotary clubs to shame, they raised $5,000. And they also came to their youth celebration night at the Heritage Park, and they were one of the key speakers from that evening. Very successful, and we're going to try and pattern some of these new Early Act clubs after that. However, it is possible for clubs to sponsor an Early Act school, even with the COVID situation going on, because there's no minimum amount of members required. So the schools, elementary schools, from my understanding, are going to be working in cohorts of maybe 6. And that 6 can actually form an early act club as well. From around the world, you've heard things of Roto Kids. That's another name for clubs in elementary schools. Early Act is a trademarked name. While it isn't a Rotary International program for youth, it is a program that is getting very, very popular, and the name is quite fitting with the Rotaract, Interact, Early Act name. I see that we do have one more Interact club that came up. Yes, sorry, Gwen McMillan. Lethbridge Sunrise has sponsored an Early Act club at Westminster Elementary School in Lethbridge. So this has been going for the last 2 years. So thank you, Gwen. We'll help you get that club registered with our district as well. So I am open to questions. I do have a lot of people that would probably want to know more details about forming a club. I am going to be the expert on that, and for now, but I am grooming another couple of new members to our committee who are quite enthusiastic about that Early Act program and also Interact. So we're going to have experts to help clubs with any type of Rotary club, starting with Early Act. So I don't really have much more to add because there's lots of details around it, but we have it. We have the details. We have the handbook. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
So if you've got a question about Early Act, grab a pen and paper, write it down, and we can tackle them at the end. I'm going to pass the mic next to Camille. He's going to be talking about Interact and Rotaract. Camille, welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Cory. Hi everyone. So Interact within our district is from the ages of 13 to 18. It is school or community based. Within our district, we have about 16 active Interact clubs. Most of them are school based. However, Interact clubs can be initiated to be community based. Interact has a number of different types of events that we put on. Some of these events are fundraisers for different organizations. What we actually do is we pick a local organization and an international organization that we would like to fundraise for. And then we host fundraisers throughout the year accordingly to raise funds for those two organizations. So for example, in the upcoming year, the Western Canada High School Interact Club has selected polio to be their overall cause, and will be raising internationally for the End Polio Now campaign as sort of their international organization or international initiative. And locally, they are trying to figure out what polio-based organization they'd be able to fundraise for. And so it is an incredible group of young people. Internationally, we have about 15,000 Interact clubs around the world. And so it is a very hefty group of passionate young people. In terms of other Interact style events, we often put on bake sales, school spirit events. We volunteer within the community extensively at various external organizational events and at various Rotary events. A really important piece of Interact is the relationship that the Interact Club has with their sponsor club. And sometimes this relationship isn't always the greatest, and Interact clubs are forced to shut down or to be terminated. But some of the most key and most important things that sponsor clubs need to remember when interacting with their Interact club is to make sure that there's a good line of communication and that you have a Interact liaison, either on your district board or on your club board or in your club somewhere, as that liaison and that connection between the club and your Rotary club. The second one is to provide as much support as possible to that Interact club. Often when Interact clubs operate, they operate on very small school budgets. I know for my past Interact club, we operated on about $98 a year. And so if possible, it is very much appreciated for the sponsor club to step up a little bit and provide the funds that those interactors need to create a difference within their communities. And the third is to make sure that you're consistently engaged with the Interact Club and aware of the activities that they're doing, participate in the activities that they're doing. If they're putting on a fundraiser or some sort of benefit concert or an event, attend, bring your Rotary friends, bring people within your club, offer any support you can to make that event a reality. And that way you'll increase not only your connections with the Interact Club, but will build future lifelong Rotarians. And that's sort of the pipeline that Cory was talking about, going from early act to interact. We need to make sure that sponsor clubs are constantly communicating with that interact club to let them know what Rotary is about, to tell them of the different opportunities that are available to them, send them to RILA, RIPEN, Adventures in Citizenship programs, and allow for them to become exposed to the framework of Rotary. And as a result, we will build lifelong Rotarians. The oldest Interact Club in our district is 45 years old, which is quite a number, not as old as some of the Rotary clubs in our district, but it's definitely getting up there. And some of our youngest Interact clubs are anywhere from about 5 to 6 to 7 years old. And so lots of diversity of age, lots of diversity of every aspect. And so it is truly a phenomenal group, and support one if you can, charter one if you can. They're a great investment of people. Similarly, Rotaract, however, has sort of a new mandate recently. Rotary International, for those of you who don't know, has elevated Rotaract to a new style or to a new level of membership, which means that there is now no upper age limit on Rotaract. It's anybody that is 18 plus can join a Rotaract club, which is truly amazing. It is something that Rotaractors around the world fought very hard for, to be recognized as equals and to be recognized as a group that should be valued to the same extent as Rotary clubs. And it is really great to see this happening. Similarly to Interact clubs, Rotaract clubs also put on a number of different events and raise money for various organizations. They also often focus on university school spirit, because Rotaract clubs, for the most part, are university-based. However, they can also be community-based. But it is a focus on sort of this idea of serving the community through community events, serving a Rotary through volunteering at Rotary events or putting on Rotary events, and helping to streamline that pipeline. For anybody that doesn't know, the retention rate between Interact and Rotaract is less than 5%. And so recently there's been a huge push to get Rotaract, to encourage Interactors to join a Rotaract club and to pursue a Rotaract club. Rotaractors, as of July 1st, 2022, will begin paying dues, as they will be a new level of membership. And with that level of membership also comes the paying of dues. But by paying for dues, Rotaract clubs now have the ability to apply for global grants, to apply for really any grant that Rotary International offers, because they are putting money into the program, and so they're able to receive funds and resources from that. Within our district, we have, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 4 Rotaract clubs. That number we hope to increase significantly in the next little while, and we really hope and require your support in doing that. In a similar way to Interact clubs, Rotaract clubs also, require Rotarian support often, because Rotaract is very self-run, self-operated by students. And so the more Rotarian support, the more Rotarian advice, the more Rotarian mentorship that Rotaractors can have, the better the group of students will be and the organization will be as a whole.
Awesome. Thank you, Camille.
Of course.
So next in the pipeline or chain, so to speak, is your traditional club. Generally, there are some standards that you'll find apply to all of these club types. For a traditional club, you need to meet at least 2 times a month. You have membership dues payable to Rotary International and to the district. Generally, traditional clubs, I think we belong mostly to traditional clubs. I don't see anyone on the list who's from an E-club or etc. But, oh, I realized I didn't finish this line. They want tradition and kind of stability in terms of meeting. And I know certainly I look forward to my weekly meeting, get to have lunch and connect with, some of the same and new people each week. It's also a way to really dive into local service. You'll find that some of the club types that we're about to talk about don't necessarily have a location specific or to their club, and so being a member of a traditional club is really a good way to have that connection to community. When it comes to chartering traditional clubs, you need 20 members to start. Whereas I believe our next one, satellite clubs only require 8. When we're talking about satellite clubs, you can really think about it as a club that orbits a larger club. Generally, satellite clubs start out small. They have their own board, they run their own meetings, they run their own projects and have a distinct set of bylaws. But they're really kind of incubating, so to speak, where they're learning what Rotary's about and hopefully pursuing a charter at some point. But they are full-fledged Rotarians. They're paying dues. They're technically considered members of the parent club. And it's really the club's choice. They can decide if they want to stay as a satellite to their sponsor club or go on to charter. Currently, our district has two satellite clubs. The first is the Cochrane Young Professionals Satellite Club. They are sponsored by the Martin Parnell's club, the Cochrane Club. And they're really a dynamic group, and they're interesting. I think they're up to close to 30 members now. But as I understand it, their intent is to stay as a satellite club. They chartered in March, which was about 7 weeks after one of their info sessions, which is, I think, quite impressive. They've got some family ties between the clubs, and so there's a lot of built-in mentorship to how their club operates. And maybe during the Q&A session, I'll have Martin, if he's here, to share a little bit more about them. They're really a dynamic group. On the smaller side of the membership size, Calgary East recently chartered a satellite club. That's the Calgary East Mosaic Club. And so when we were looking at bringing this group of people together, we thought that maybe we might charter as a cause-based club, which we'll cover later. But they are very diligent and saw that there's a whole lot to learn about how Rotary operates, and that they preferred the style where they got to learn from existing members of the Calgary East Rotary Club. And so their president is mentoring the president of the satellite club, and so on. There's a really strong bond between both clubs that's really nice to see. Another new club type is something called a passport club. It's essentially has the same basis as a regular Rotary club. You still pay dues, you're still required to meet twice per month, but it's designed for people who travel a lot or might not want to go to the same club every time they have a meeting. So your 2 meeting requirements can be made up by attending a different Rotary club. And that could be in the same city, it could be across the world. It's really designed to accommodate people who want that ultimate flexibility to either meet with their group or just attend when they're traveling. There isn't really a significant, other than that, there's not a huge difference between a passport club and a traditional club. Generally, it's your passport to Rotary, essentially. E-clubs are essentially a traditional Rotary club, but instead of meeting at the same restaurant every week, they meet online. So they might meet in a setting like this, in an online meeting format. They, just like traditional clubs, can have speakers. Or what some do is they'll have a speaker, and because membership of e-clubs can span multiple time zones, they may record the meeting, and your attendance that week is watching the video and either submitting a questionnaire or just getting credit for having watched the video. So dues are similar. The district dues get paid to the district where the club is chartered, not to the district that you reside in. And we don't currently have one in District 5360. But that's something that we've had some interest in, so we're looking into that as a method to help people engage. Um, yeah. A new club type that Rotary is allowed for. We've all probably heard of the corporate membership, where you can have multiple people fill a seat, kind of a rotation through your club, members of the same company. Well, this is employees of large companies coming together to work on projects. So they're mostly members of the same company. There could be some peripheral friends or staff, etc. They're able to meet in person online, just like most Rotary clubs. But one of the biggest benefits of a corporate club is the ability to leverage a corporation's money through the Rotary Foundation. With their matching grants, a company is able to send their money a lot further than if they were just spending it on their own. To my knowledge, we don't have any corporate clubs in District 5360, but that's one of the club types that you might find works for the people in your life. So let's charter one. I mentioned earlier with the Calgary East Mosaic Club that about cause-based clubs, and again, these are basically the same structure of a Rotary club, but what draws people to belong to this group is dedication to a single cause. That could be anything from the environment to basically any non-political or non-religious cause that you might be passionate about. So I chose Polio Plus and Save the Whales as two options, but from the reading I've done and what I've seen from Rotary, most of the cause-based clubs that I've seen popping up are environmentally focused. So it could start with beautifying a space in the city, but then in keeping with the theme, expanding to broader environmental issues as well. Generally, I believe cause-based clubs have a more hands-on approach. They're more about, digging in the dirt and building than traditional clubs might be. But they are focused on a specific, well, you can make it as specific as you like. You can make it Save the Whales in Harvey Bay, Australia, or, broader, just environmental issues. Something that I guess an additional club type is alumni-based clubs. We talked a little bit about the funnels that kind of channel people into clubs, and this is probably the most direct example. So people who have gone through any of the Rotary programs coming together to start a club. The one difference between this and the other clubs that I've mentioned is that this could be an Interact club, it could be a Rotaract club, or it could be a Rotary club. In fact, our district has kind of got a hybrid. A group of Rotary Youth Exchange students came together to create the Rotaract United E-Club. So it is an online version of Rotaract Club, and probably 90%, if not all of them, are former Youth Exchange students. Depending on where they are in the world, they've got they've had attendance from France and Dominican Republic and all over Alberta and Canada. So, dues, etc., would be based on the type of club that you're chartering. So none for Interact, Rotaract not until 2022, and then Rotary as per regular guidelines. So that's the club types. I hope you had your pens handy. We'll cover that in a little bit. Cover your questions in a little bit. So a little bit more about us now, and what we're really here to do is to help you investigate these club types and decide if they're a good fit for whatever group you're thinking of or currently exists. And we're putting together a toolkit that will be released on Sunday. By the time these slides go out, there will be a link directly to that page. But the idea is that, well, actually the questions that are asked here today will add to the FAQ section. But basically trying to make it as simple a process as possible. A lot of the Rotary's done a really good job of gathering the documents that you might need to charter a club, but just making it a little bit more digestible. In addition to kind of the tools you'll need, you'll also find our contact information. So we suggest that if you're looking at chartering an Interact club, you reach out to the specialist for that club. Until we flesh out our committee a little bit more, we might all work on it and kind of interchange tasks. But for instance, if you're looking at an early act club, Christine is the person that you would contact, and we'll offer some resources there. Questions?
Okay, I've been monitoring the chat and the questions. I do have a question to start about the Rotary Interact quarantine, or I would turn that over to Camille. They were asking about one of our members, Ria Graham, has asked about sharing the information on the Rotary Interact quarantine. Camille?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So the Rotary Interactive Quarantine is a coalition of students that have come together during this COVID-19 pandemic. Students from across the world, South America, North America, places in Europe, and have come together to provide a platform for Interact clubs to share projects with one another, to provide some trainings and learning seminars for interactors around the world, and really allow interactors to thrive during this pandemic, because as we all know, Interact is school-based for the most part, and so interactors often need help and support, and they need to be guided, and they need to be ensured that, you know, that even though there's this pandemic happening, that they have the resources available to them. And so Interactive Quarantine is able to provide those resources and provide those connections and provide some of those project ideas that interactors can put on during this time, to not only help reassure their own clubs, but to make the world a better place in this very unprecedented time.
Thank you, Camille.
Of course.
I have a couple of people have asked where this cause-based club against human trafficking is located. I saw this coming through my email on a newsletter, and I'm going to have to find that out. But I do know there is a club. But once I find out where that is, I will relay that out to all the attendees today.
Christine, I did see a question from Steve Levitt here about examples of sponsor clubs. And so if I could just touch on that a little bit. The Rotary Club of Calgary Downtown is the sponsor club for Western Canada High School Interact. And in the past couple of years, they've done a phenomenal job in supporting Interact in our endeavors. There's Dave Leslie is the Rotary liaison to our Interact Club. And he is very conscious and very active in understanding what Interact is doing. We're often invited to Rotary Club meetings to give updates about, you know, what's their club doing. There was actually a meeting today where the Interact Club presented their plan for the year and what they hope their causes and their organizations to be. In the past, the club has provided funds for the Interaction Symposium that was put on, that was hosted by Western Canada High School, which was an event to connect interactors across the district. And the Downtown Rotary Club provided funds for that. They send students to RILA every year. They send students to the Adventures in Citizenship programs, and are very active in making sure the Interact Club is engaged in all the work that is being done.
Wonderful. Thank you, Camille. Yeah, Camille truly is the Interact specialist in our district. So earlier on, I had a question about Early Act from Brian Callahan, and he had asked, are there parents involved with the Early Act clubs? And definitely they are. The Parent Teacher Association has advisors for the Early Act clubs. So yeah, so the parents are definitely involved that way. Any other questions? Oh, okay, hang on, I got some more in the Q&A. Mary Turner, DG Mary, has asked, can Rotarians be members of more than one club?
I guess technically they could, depending on their membership type. But when you hold membership in a Rotary Club, you're there's dues associated to that. So I would ask, do you want to be a member of more than one club? I don't believe there's anything saying that you couldn't be a card-carrying member of one club and then an honorary member of another. But I think from a personal perspective, the benefit comes to joining a club and building relationships there. So you're losing some of the value of Rotary by splitting your membership across different clubs.
Cory, if I could just add on that a little bit. Often, or not often, but I have seen a dual membership between Rotaract and Rotary clubs. So there are members who can be a part of both a Rotaract club and a Rotary club. So there is that option of dual membership available.
Great point, Camille.
Also, Paul Gaudette from the Calgary Chinook Club has asked, how have e-clubs been doing in recent years? Are they growing in terms of number of clubs and number of members?
I think from a net basis, definitely they're newer club formats, so they are growing worldwide. I don't have specific numbers on terms of membership from e-clubs, but I can definitely look that up and make sure that they're distributed. They'll be both in the FAQ in our toolkit, and I'll add them to the slides before they're distributed as well.
We do have an e-club in District 5370, and there is a Canada One e-club that's has members from all over the world. So that's just a couple that I know of, but I know there's almost every district now are looking at e-clubs and trying to get more sponsors, more chartered for that. So thank you. Okay, let's see. No more open questions at this time. Oh, we got one. Just let me check. Oh, just some thanks from some of the attendees about, we do have many more choices these days on how we start clubs and how Rotary has become so flexible in its membership and how you can run your club that I think we do have a lot more options. We do have choices now, and we really want to start the dialogue with every club that we can about opportunities for them to charter Early Act, charter Interact, charter Rotaract, charter a new satellite club, and start growing Rotary through those means. Okay, Cory.
We've had a couple of new questions pop up.
This is from Jeffrey Foss. Jeffrey is from Okotoks. In terms of growing Rotary clubs in a pandemic, are there tools available on how to use technology for hybrid meetings?
That's a really good question, and unfortunately I don't have an answer to that either. Certainly I can look into that and get back to you, Jeffrey.
I would add, at our district itself, we bought a couple of Zoom meeting licenses so clubs can meet online, and there is learning for that as well available. But yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. We'll get on that one. Okay, so DG Mary has another question. How would we start the conversation in a community to start a Rotaract club? Camille.
Yeah. That's an awesome question. And there are a number of ways that you could go about that. The first way would be to obviously make sure that, if whatever person or whatever group you're approaching is service oriented and that they are wanting to take action in their community. And then I would find one champion in either a university or within the community, really, and have a sit-down conversation with them and explain to them, what is a Rotaract club about, what are the requirements, what are the needs, how to go about running one, how do you structure a board, and all of the materials that will be available in the toolkit that will be coming out shortly. But after you sort of have that conversation, with that Rotaract champion that you could find in a university or in a community, then, you know, sort of let them take the reins in finding a group of like-minded, passionate people who can help to push that Rotary Club forward. But definitely the biggest takeaway from that is to reach out to a university or reach out to a community organization of really any age now, and find a champion.
Thank you, Camille. One more question for you, Camille, from Robert Wolfson from the Chinook Club, president of the Chinook Club. Camille, in your experience, how many times do the interactors like to attend their sponsors club meetings to provide updates and feel connected to their sponsors club?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my personal experience, I know interactors are always very energized to be able to do that. It really instills a lot of happiness and a lot of support and feeling that, you know, my sponsor club cares. My sponsor club wants to know what we're up to. And so I would say they like to probably appear pretty often. I would almost say probably once a month at a club meeting to provide an update of sort of what the plan is for that month, preferably at the beginning of the month, so that the Rotary Club is aware of, you know, what's happening, what the goals and objectives are of that particular month. I know that it's normally club executives that attend, and that really allows for that connection to be built even deeper. I know even if the club executives all aren't speaking and it's only the president and the vice president, the rest of the executives still love to be there to be able to listen in and contribute to what is being said. Also, I would even recommend, just even if there is nothing particular to provide an update for that specific meeting, just invite interactors to attend that specific Rotary Club meeting and let them feel as though they're actually a part of the Rotary family and that they're valued and that they're understood.
Thanks, Camille. And vice versa, right? Like, you know, the club members can attend the Interact or Rotaract or Early Act meetings. Any other club meetings, they're welcome, you know. So I think expanding your Rotary world is a great option with having these Interact and clubs and sponsoring new clubs. Thank you. Comment here from Brian Callahan. The Canmore Club hosts both in-person and social distancing meetings, as well as a Zoom portal, as we cannot all gather together under Alberta Health Services rules right now. So that's something that we're all quite aware of these days. Let's see, one more question. Okay. So Mary, DG Mary has a comment. Thank you, Mary. Really great conversations and opening the awareness of new club models. Let's open opportunities for new clubs across our district. Can't wait for the toolkit. No pressure, Cory. Thank you, Mary. Actually, we are quite enthusiastic about this new committee developing right now. We have members joining this committee from Medicine Hat, Lethbridge area, from both Rotaract and clubs from Okotoks. So we are looking for more members to kind of round it out through the regions, and so I'm in charge of recruitment right now. So if you get a call, it might be me asking you to join.
You're doing a great job, Christine. Thank you.
There is one more question in the chat from Rob. Okay, yeah. Just how long does it take into the new school year for the club to be formed? Well, that really depends on how on hands the Rotary Club is and how open the school is to allow for that process to happen, and how passionate your Interact champion in your school is to get a club started. In my experience, I've seen it take an entire school year for a club to be good to go for the next school year, and I've also seen it happen in 4 to 5 months. But it depends on, you know, how on hands do you want to be as a Rotary Club and how passionate is your champion.
Awesome. Well, seeing no more questions, I guess we'll call it a day. I'll make sure that the link to the toolkit is in the slides that Rick has kindly offered to distribute for us. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I realize I didn't post my contact info, but I believe you can find it through Club Runner. Yeah, I appreciate all of you taking the time tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody, for